Hello there, my wonderfully sublime friend. Remember ages ago when I was talking about the Getaway, a British PlayStation 2 classic that aged like Fanta in the sun? It may have been great when it was cold, but it's still Fanta and tastes okay. And that's what I mean. The presentation was great for the time, but the Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels-esque charisma and story was what kept people playing, until you died 10 million times in the museum. Yeah, fun. And here we have the sequel, The Getaway Black Monday. Is it an improvement to the original, or does it rock the boat a bit too much? Here we go. Black Monday was developed by those whom developed the original, being Skell, aka Sony Computer Entertainment London, and Team Soho. They also gave us SingStar if you wanted that additional info. And of course, it was published by Sony, releasing on the 12th of November 2004 in Europe and 3 months later in North America. If you fear that you need to play the first game to understand what the heck is going on, you won't really need to, as it's a completely separate plot to the previous entry, introducing new characters and a new perspective. It's just set in the same world with the same engine with updates. So, no need for a backtracking session, although I recommend the first if you intend to binge the small little series. The first visual we get to visualize besides logos is the intro scene that starts off blurry and definitely treats itself like the beginning to a BBC show or movie. It's gorgeous, starting off blurry and slowly revealing streets and blocks you'll traverse through in the game. The music accompanies the video too, as the camera zooms whenever the irregular time signature composition does this. It's a catchy, pulsating effect that works in theme and contrast to the style this game is aiming for. The first game had this classic jazzy aesthetic that felt more like a James Bond opening sequence rather than a gangster drama. Black Mondays is better in my opinion. I could watch this section for ages, and dare I say, even though it's not to be compared by, but I prefer this intro sequence over Vice Cities, and I freaking adore that game style and 80s aesthetic. This definitely captures the drab and cold London environment. This intro sequence over Vice Cities, and I freaking adore that game style. It's a catchy, pulsating effect that works in theme and contrast to the style this game is aiming for. Anywho, whatso cares, we should delve immediately into the story and see what's up. In the first game, the story revolved around Mark Hammond, whose wife is murdered and his son kidnapped by Charlie Johnson, a mafioso leader who wants Mark to do some dirty laundry for him, to betray his fellow mates and cause them havoc, otherwise the kid dies. And that's what the back of the box advertised. It was intimidating to say the least, and you understood the narrative of the overall game. Don't let the kid die, plain and simple. There was no retaliation towards characters swearing non-stop. They all had sparing and different personalities that made you either despise or oddly admire the crew. The back of the box for Black Monday is, well, less intimidating and more of an average quote that doesn't really sell the game if I'm 100% honest. In Black Monday, you take the helm of Mitchell, a member of the police who has war flashbacks of accidentally shooting a kid in the back. It turns his smile upside down for the entirety of the game. After the flashback, him and his SWAT teams are scouting the London apartment blocks for the Collins gang, your usual drug manifestos, and holy good lord is this scene dark. Need to put the bloody brightness up.
I can't believe it. She's had more pricks than a second-hand dartball.
Shut up.
And you're in love with her. Can't believe you're getting the hump over her brass. She was a fucking brass.
Yeah? Well, she was my brass.
If she's a brass, she's anybody's by definition.
When you spend 6 months on her, she's your fucking brass, all right?
So I nailed her. What was I supposed to do? It's my job.
She was my fucking brass!
Oi,
Yeah,
ladies. Concentrate on this job, yeah?
Any whatso who cares way, we explore the apartments and instead of uncovering the Collins gang, we find another drug lord fiasco and we start shooting up the area. Either that or you get close, injure and arrest them. A new mechanic and ability for the game which I always try to use as much as possible. You can tell from the gameplay that I'm again getting used to the controls which are rather heavy and intricate to boot to start off with. This happened last time and it's relevant here, so get that instruction manual out, learn the control mapping, and you're good to go. When you take them all out, it leads to a few days later where Mitchell and co get an emergency call about a shootout at a boxing club. You'd expect some punches, not bullets. You have to drive your way there of course, and holy lord, this is another thing to get used to. Again, like the original Getaway, you can choose either to accelerate with the X button, putting pressure on it to go faster, or use the right analog stick, pushing up or down to go faster, or slower, and reverse. Moving left to right is still slippery, especially on a tight corner. It's not the best driving system, and going fast in London doesn't mean you're going to be swooshing past Bourne Identity style. There's a lot of close calls. But I'd say the massive pain that is evident when driving is the frame rate and stuttering. The Getaway was usually below 30 frames or above, but Black Monday definitely has trouble carrying all the information that's put up on the screen. Occasionally a dip around 20 frames and cause some pain to the eyes. At least it's not Flintstone's Bedrock Bowling at the very least. Ugh. So, after being indicated by the indicators where your objective is, Mitch and the coppers get to the boxing club and another shootout ensues. This time I have no patience for arrests. And does it make an impact to the story? Well, yeah. For the ending, but I won't spoil anything about that in case you want to gander at Black Monday. These moments are always intense since you take damage rather easily. A few bullets can cause an instant kill. It attempts realism, but not to the point where it's unplayable. Each room delivers a scary life or death situation. Any criminal could come up to you and leave you in utter pain. I love how you will start hobbling and slow down if Mitch has been shot numerous times. This was brilliant in the first Getaway and it's still wonderful here. It's a tad annoying that they again never mention that you can heal yourself by simply leaning against the wall. It's confusing in how you do it. If you go into cover, the healing won't work, but if you're close by any wall, it'll automatically interact and heal up. Medpacks would have been greater, adding strategy if they were scarce to come across. It's not that bad though in comparison to not seeing a bloody thing. Within the boxing club and other areas that occur later, like this subway section, there's complete darkness. The torch is your savior, and even then, it's still difficult to navigate around the rooms in this much darkness. I just roll and aim till I lock onto crooks and find the pathway out. After that, if you don't get showered in bullets, one of the gang members escapes and you then head to a scrapyard. This is when shootouts need to be taken cautiously. You could be the courageous hero that doesn't take cover, rooting, tooting and shooting like a cowboy, but I don't think you really want to go back 10 million steps. When you die, you'll be returned to a checkpoint that's far away, sometimes resulting in doing the entire mission again, which will feel like a massive chore. In some games, replaying a section after many fails can be fun. Superhot, Battletoads, and N+ are prime examples of this. you'll be returned to a checkpoint that's far away, sometimes resulting in doing the entire mission again. The cover system also takes a bit getting used to, which is probably why I use it sparingly for actual furrow walls. It's workable, but clipping onto it like a magnet isn't the most robust. After shuffling and rolling through the scrapyard, you arrest Levi.
It's Levi. It's fucking Wrangler in this station if I say so. Show some respect.
Someone who acts like upper class and doesn't let out a single word to the cops. He even dismisses their cigarettes.
I want to smoke. Hey, pig! Give me a cigarette!
Shut him up, will you?
Lights! This fucking country. I want a man's cigarette. Huh? You pulling my pisser? You think I smoke for my fucking health?
Elegant prick. He gets a phone call and is let out, leading to a trailing mission. Whatever you do, never blare the siren. I did that on accident and I was almost to the end goal. You get to this abandoned building and take your SWAT team, take out more baddies, and rescue journalist Jackie Phillips, who I must say gets abducted more times than Princess Peach. Well, that's a lie. Dealing with the darkness again, we get the fuck out of there and leads to a trip back to the police station. And then we drive Miss Phillips away to a safe house and bada bing bada boom, the frame rate killed itself more than my own car. Jackie is taken and we gotta chase the van. Irritating but satisfying. Lots of things occur from now on and the plot and action becomes engaging if a bit repetitive. There's a subway chase, you follow a helicopter to find the location of a mobster's car to then shoot it all up, more chases, and then bam, you change characters and are now playing a bloke called Eddie. What? You do a heist in a high security facility and use brawn to take everyone out, and it takes place before the events of the boxing club incident and blends to Mitch's narrative. At first, it's a huge turn-off. I was getting accustomed to Mitch and his tense moments only for it to be taken away. I don't really like Mitch, but then again, I don't really like anyone in this game. Almost everyone is a bastard.
So, hero, how'd you find us?
Good. Bit rough around the edges, but good.
You're not wrong there.
Rough around the edges? I suppose you can be a bit rough around the edges. Then you get some squaddies who are so fucking sharp around the edges they hurt too many people. Maybe next time they get one of their teammates in the back. I mean, it don't count when it's just some kid or nothing. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Hey, ladies!
Black Monday is exciting, don't get me wrong. It's just, I honestly never felt obliged to finish this because the characters are so mediocre. No more plot filling, you get the idea of how the narrative rolls along, it's no holds barred from now on. Everyone, like I mentioned, is unlikable, even the protagonist. You can have unlikable and tolerated and admire like in some other games. The anti-hero is always a joy like in Prototype 2. But here, we have a bunch of potty-mouthed tosspots. Mitchell is arrogant and aside from his trauma of shooting a kid and other people, he's just a frown and is bland.
Sergeant Mitchell? Ben, isn't it?
Sergeant Mitchell,
Thanks back there.
it's my job.
It's your job. You're the quiet one, aren't you? Quite the moody action man.
Put your seatbelt on.
The SWAT team is a charismatic bunch of douches that are irritating and always get on my nerves, especially the captain.
It's Collins.
Jesus fucking Christ.
It could be Goldilocks and 11 fucking bears as far as you're concerned. Just bring them in.
The only beneficial factor about them is their professional voice acting and motion capturing. The villains don't get enough merit and are subject to cliche and never feel like a threat when they obviously should. This guy, he looks more like a lawyer than a gangster boy. These bad boys don't own that grit that Charlie Johnson and his thugs had. He threatened to kill Mark's kid, and that gave a lot of tension. The only tension from Black Monday is the segments. Not for the sake of the character dying, but the sake of going back 40 steps. And Mark Hammond in the first game wasn't the best person in the world, but he was given a tough challenge to take out friends and people he knew, and raised his name in the vigilante board so he could save his kid. Mitchell is arrogant, Eddie is bland and brawny. Jackie Phillips was probably the best character, but even then there wasn't much to the table. That doesn't undermine the performance though, because they are done well like a proper BBC TV show. The bill is what comes to mind, even though that's some guilty pleasure soap opera trash. Sadly, the script and story don't carry the same weight as the acting. The graphics for the time are impressive. They again captured the essence of London in its dreary state and the claustrophobic streets with lots of traffic and attention to detail. Then again, the first game captured this as well, and mind you, performed better too. Black Monday has a lot of issues within the presentation. I mentioned that the frame rate will drop to 20 and below and is barely consistent due to how much information is put onto the screen. Character models are well detailed, but the mouth movement is like a putty playset. It's awkward and lays within the uncanny valley. It was great for the time, but is certainly dated. The lighting in some sections are very bad, like impossible to see what the heck is going on, and there'll be moments where it's completely dark. The sets and the locations inside buildings are good though. This is a cop station, this is a scrapyard, this is a boxing club. It never gets to the point where you are out of London. Textures on the screen usually have a problem rendering and leads to pop-ins and low textured buildings. It's a big distraction which never occurred for me in the first game. It seems like it all needed an extra polish for a few months, even a year. But if they did, then it would have been around the time when the PS3 was announced. You'd expect London to be fun to blaze and travel around. It's not. While I do admire the car variety, the detail and architecture of the city, and the way you move about, there wasn't enough for me to tour it or play around in the environment. The weather doesn't change gradually, but only when you progress through the missions. It's nice weather, but it would have been better if the environment itself changed as you played along. The best part about the entire game is the soundtrack. I do not have a negative thing to say about it besides the fact that it isn't on CD or vinyl. It's got amazing mishmashes of bongo beats, heavy bass, wavy 70s guitar flange, and serves an ultra whammy in each track, all with different uses of time signatures, syncopation, tones, genre styles, and builds the tone for each level. You'll feel the intensity, drive through the drama, keep the stealth engaged, and the score captures it all beautifully. You'll be tapping your feet or soaking in the atmosphere. The Getaway Black Monday is disappointing and not really worth getting unless you want it for your whole entire PS2 collection, or you've got the first one and want to give this one a try as well. Personally, I thought this was a big step down and didn't really make an impact. The story is mediocre, the characters are unlikable, the graphics, in comparison to the first one actually, are diminished and rather lacking. But, on a positive note, the soundtrack is definitely worth a listen. Probably one of my favorite musical scores for a video game, and that's not even a joke. Anyway, my name is James, this is my game, and I'll bid you adieu.
Sorry, fast.